It's not that I don't eat, only that I've had 3 pieces today already." He laughed with her again, and their voices echoed off the punched tin ceiling. Fox took another bite of the cake, and Celeste sipped her tea, watching him over the rim of the teacup, fascinated by how in some ways he was so like John, and in other ways so different. Many of his mannerisms were the same as his father's, like the way he slipped the fork out of his mouth, his lips pressed to the tines. But while John had often been crude in his table manners, Fox was smooth and obviously comfortable with the silver plate and the fragile china. She had no doubt he had been served tea in London. While John had been a simple man, Fox was obviously a worldly one. He reminded her of the men she had known in Denver, men who had wooed her. That had been more than 8 years ago. It felt like 8 centuries. Fox finished the cake and wiped his mouth with the linen napkin before taking a sip of his tea. "Well, Miss Kennedy, this has been very pleasant, but I suppose we should get on with business." Celeste set down her teacup with a slight clatter. "Business?" He made a motion with his hand, meaning to get on with it. Of John. That sinking feeling came back again. For a half an hour's time, she had been a woman sharing a cup of tea with a handsome man. In a moment she would just be a whore again. "Your father, you mean?" she said softly. "You haven't called him your father, only John." She didn't mean to criticize, but to Celeste, it seemed disrespectful. For a split second, Fox looked uncomfortable. Yes, my father. It's just that I never called him that, only John. We both preferred it that way." "Even when you were a little boy?" She was amazed by his confession. It seemed so unlike John. And there was the way Fox explained it. He said he had preferred it that way. But there was something in his voice that expressed otherwise. "John never told me that." Fox uncrossed his legs and pressed both hands to his thighs, leaning forward slightly. "Miss Kennedy, you seem to have known, or think you knew, my father quite well." There was an edge to his voice now. "Will you tell me exactly what your relationship was with him?"